where a family that was known as the Jobber lived, and their surname was either Clark or Riley. You're not sure.
Well, most likely Riley.
Most likely Riley.
Because another Riley man, who is also a Jobber Riley, used to associate with them.
Okay. Was there land associated with this house?
No.
There was no land associated?
No.
Well, that is a problem because to identify, the land records will identify who is the registered tenant of this land.
Well, like Phil Cooney would have been born in 1924, and he never knew anyone in this. It was known as the Jobber's Plot. But that didn't give a surname, and he wouldn't have remembered that person.
What did that name, the Jobber, mean?
Jobber meant a dealer.
A dealer.
In
A
cattle,
dealer.
maybe? Or
Possibly cattle.
yes, yeah.
Dealers. They were known as pig jobbers, but they were also known as cattle jobbers. And there were two different types of people.
Okay.
Well, by 1924, the original owner, landlord, would probably have the title from the original landlord going back into the 1800s would have been transferred by the Irish Land Commission to whoever was the tenant at that time. And
Maybe
that
not
tenant's name is
necessary
identified.
tenant, maybe purchaser.
Well, the transfer from the original landlord by the Irish Land Commission was through applying the rents that had been paid to allow for purchase of the property.
Yeah.
So we could search in the land records to find out the ownership of that.
Well, who was the landlord, Charlie, in this area? Saunderson?
Youngs.
Young.
Well, Youngs were the big landlords in.
Tony
in
had a
Musselby.
piece of paper there, and it might have said who was the owner of the land in Black Hills.
Yes.
This is Black Hills.
Yes.
I went to bed all down into the bed with the Barney bed about, you know.
Barry near Karen Gallop. Karen Gallop. Electrical division of Karen Gallop.
And where's Clanky then? Where did Clanky come in?
Well,
This is all the barony of
Clancy
Clanky.
is
Is
a
it
barony.
Clancy?
Is the name of the barony. It's
And is Carden Gareth another?
Well, Karen Gallop is the electrical division on the register for the elections.
And the barony be a subdivision of a electrical division, would it?
No, it'd be possibly the bigger one.
yes.
It'd be the overall one.
Because I know Ballymoney Bog, I know, and down the road, got it up in the 1800s. Some landlord owned the Ballymoney Bog.
Well, a lot of the Ballymoney Bog after the 1900s, most of the Ballymoney Bog was owned by my grandfather and father. That would be on one side. In Granadara, it was owned by Donnellys,
Yeah.
and the tenant, originally they were tenants. They were tenants of the Youngs, but in around 1900, that the tenants became the owners through the Irish Land Commission.
Okay.
What
but I-
years did the Land Commission come into being?
It was around the 1900s, approximately.
But go
A
back
little
to the
before.
1800s,
Actually, I think the Land Commission was established some years before 1900, and it was over that period that the ownership was being transferred from the original tenants, well, from the original landlord, I should say, to the tenants.
Kathleen, will you tell us a little bit about the Priest Fields here as well, how they came to be known as the Priest Fields and what the story is behind the Priest Fields?
Well, in this area, somebody that maybe had no relatives or no family members donated this plot of land to the parish, to the priest of Tearworker at the time.
Okay.
Now, with no priest in Tearworker, it has fallen into the property of the parish.
Yes.
But most likely it's vested in the names of the Bishop of Kilmore.
Of Kilmore. Okay.
You know?
Yeah, St. Félix
Now,
Trust.
there's 10 or 12 acres here behind us.
Yes.
Don't know ever who owned it. Nobody in my time or before my time ever had a name
Yes.
of who owned it.
So
Jimmy Callahan had it taken for a lifetime in my early years.
Do you know if the parish of Tewerka or the priest would have rented this land to
Oh
somebody?
yes, he always rented it.
And who are some of the people who
Well,
rented
I
it?
don't know who had it previous to 61,
Yes.
but in 61 to 65 to 71, Father Gillogley had strawberries in it.
So was the priest, but now.
But he took it back.
But what about
from-
now? Who would? be
who has it
using
now?
this using
It's
this land?
Eugene Cairns,
No,
Kevin Clark.
Kevin Clark.
Kevin
Oh,
Clark.
Kevin Clark has it now, rented. But different neighbours
Yes,
in the farming community would have had it from time to time.
Yes.
And when a man went out of business or out of stock or changed his way of living, it was rented to another man by the parish.
And it's one of the few fields in the area that there's a flax hole. If you went up to the top and into the next field at the top of the hill, there's an old flax hole there, and there isn't that many flax holes in the area. So whoever had it back in the days, somebody
the
obviously
flax.
grew flax in it. Yeah.
Well, there was flax growing in this area in, we'll say, the
50s.
earlier.
50s. I saw them in the 50s.
Yeah, there used to be cart loads of flax loaded and the carts heeled up with the flax tied on them to go to a mill somewhere down at Cully's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, we on our farm, Donnelly's in Glanadara, there was 1 year in the mid 1940s, might even be 44, that my father grew flax.
Flax.
But that was a 1 year effort only.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
think
was
it was
some
compulsory to
awareness
grow flax.
for a year
Might
or
have
two
been
at that
at that point,
time
yeah.
that there was money to be made of flax.
Yeah, this
and
is-
a lot of people who had land booked in on it.
Yeah.
But they didn't work out.
This would be during wartime.
They never done it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole tail fell out of the business anyway.
Yeah.
But I saw flax in the 50s
Yeah.
over in Railbeg country. Like your father and them maybe there at that time.
Yeah.
And then when the flax was pulled by hand by all the local farmers, it was tied in bundles and put into a flax hole.
Yes.
And after so many weeks in the flax hole, it was an awful job, a smelly job to get it out of the flax hole. And then you spread it out on what was known as hay fields, where hay had been done, nice clean fields.
Yes.
And you spread it out there till it dried, and then you had to gather it again, and then you had to bring it by horse and cart to somewhere like Cotill.
For the mill.
A Scotch mill.
Yeah.
Exactly, Scotch.
A Scotch mill.
And
good, I
putting it in
forgot
the
that word.
flax hole was called drowning the flax, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it. It had to be done that way or it wouldn't be right.
They're both sides up the road, down there between Dessus and the Meathal, on both sides, there was a flax hole.
There was a flax hole
And
there too.
Geelans used to have flax tramped into it. Oh, they'd get in and they'd tramp on it.
Bare feet.
In
Yeah,
bare feet.
And then you'd put stones
And there was
on top
enough
to weigh it
smell.
down.
Yeah.
And you better edit this. Somebody asked Mrs. Keelan one time, how did Larry get on with the flax? What money did he do it? And the answer she gave, well, do you not see the lump of it rid on his arse?
Thanks, John.
But
That'll sound desperate, John, when it comes out again.
I told him to edit it.
I might be able to edit it, John.
Well, I remember helping with the flax that
Yeah.
year. I was probably about 6 years old.
Well, that must have been around the one time. I
Yes,
remember
it
the
was only
smell
once.
passing Geelan's flax on.
Yeah.
We'd hold our nose.
yeah, but see, it was very
Pigs
convenient
would be
then for
in a
taking
good
it
thing
out,
only
because you're
for-
on
Yes.
the roadside throwing it out,
Yeah.
then into the cart again. It was laborious work.
I heard of a woman who went to America in, we'll say, about 1926. And when she was in New York, she says, oh my goodness, I'd go back and spread flax any day rather than have to spend my life here. She was spreading flax the days before she went.
Yeah.
But Monaghan seemed to be a much more productive county for the flax.
Yes.
Yeah, well, of course, flax was the source of linen, and the linen industry was very
Yeah,
much
and in Belfast.
In the north,
Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And then they had trains to, or wherever to bring it, and carriages to wherever they were going. You know.
Okay.